The first depiction we have of a reptilian-like or serpent-headed-like being comes from the ancient Sumerian civilization. It existed well over 12,000 years ago. And what we find is, nearby to Eridu, there was an area known as the Ubaid civilization, which was a branch of the Sumerians. And in the 1800s, they discovered a statue that depicted a serpent-like head on a being. And that was the first depiction we had that some speculated traced back to a reptilian-like root, to the origins of these gods of ancient Mesopotamia and Sumer. And many have speculated that that was part of our early origin story, or even some kind of a system of control with how these kings and bloodlines seem to disseminate down into those cultures.
Going back to ancient Near Eastern documents, both biblical documents as well as the Ebla texts that were found in Syria, going back even 1,000 years plus before the biblical record. Of course, we have various terms that anthropologists use from these gigantic monster forms that we have records of even in China and the Far East.
The ancient tablets, such as the Legend of Etana, discuss how there was this rivalry or some kind of a fight going on between this serpent-like being with an eagle-like being. And in that time period, many have speculated that there were influences of a reptilian-like being in our genetics and in our story from the very beginning. And some have speculated, looking at the story of what's known as this war in heaven of these different interdimensional or extraterrestrial-like beings, that there was a type of reptilian that was part of this war over our species and over our future.
Aside from these historic references, what we know about reptilian beings comes from a variety of researchers, from academics and hypnotherapists to those who remote view, as well as others who claim to have direct contacts. Consensus is that reptilian beings are an ancient and controversial influence on humankind.
In my explorations of the reptilian species through my own memories and experiences, as well as astral current experiences, there are many different types. Some are more lizard-like features and very human-like bodies. Others are more lizard-like with long tails, and others still have wings, like dragons, and are more massive and more powerful. I believe that those different races of reptilians are from some of the different hybrid lines coming from different types of dragons.
They have eye mechanisms or optical mechanisms in every part of their body. Secondly, they have multiple appendages that can be grown back, and hence their thinking system is throughout their whole body frame. It's not localized in simply the head or the higher mind, as we would call it. Thirdly, they have an enormous sense of adaptation to all type of environments. Call them extremophiles in the sense they can go from the rigors of temperatures without violation of the life processes. And finally, they all seem to operate with great telepathic skills, that they can communicate with the humans and humans can communicate with them on a certain frequency.
Remote viewing has been able to see what the reptilians actually can and can't do. The reptilians we have interacted with are highly telepathic, and they have extreme capabilities for neural engagement. They are a warrior species. They fight. Moreover, they like to fight. Apparently, they were genetically engineered originally as a mercenary fighting force. They broke off, are now independent, but they kept that ability. They are highly intelligent, and they have very low levels, if any, of empathy in terms of understanding, compassion, and that type of emotion.
From his background working for the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, Richard Doty was exposed to intelligence documents that reference both insect-looking ETs as well as reptilian ones.
If you read the intelligence reports, their skin was almost reptilian. If you just looked at them from the chest up, You could say the head looked more humanoid, but the body didn't. And that's why I believe the DIA classified the reptilians and the praying mantises in separate categories, the quataloids, because they came from the same planet, the same tissue samples, the same crafts, same technology. The humanoid-looking ones, maybe we call them reptilians, their hands were really thick digits, 4 fingers.
There is another caste of reptilians that actually have more of a humanoid features. So they don't have the long snout. They're not what you call your stereotypical reptilians, but they have some scales. They look almost like humanoid hybrid reptilian beings. Currently on Earth, there's still reptilian factions that have control of the Earth governments and the Earth religious sectors. These beings are maybe human in appearance, but some of them are full reptilians and some of them are reptilian hybrids. When I talk about full reptilians that appear human, I'm talking about shape-shifting reptilians. So reptilians have the ability to shape-shift, to look like something that they're not. So they're masters of deception and they're masters of disguise. They do it energetically. It is actually kind of a physical energetic transformation where they put on a shell that looks kind of a human shell, but they can't sustain it for very long, so they do it for short periods of time.